Hello guys, this is your friend and we are back with a new fanfic. Which is what if Naruto was cast out by Konoha and reborn as the child of Serafall part -2. And if you enjoy this fanfic then please press the like button and subscribe to my channel for more fanfic like this. And now let's start the fanfic.
I agree with Susanoo that this is what happened and that they discussed with Waisaka declaring war on the demons because of what happened with the Nasho. Tsukiyomi no Makoto Diosa the Luna. The Mad Rasu, a simple young demon, saved the entire Nasho clan from the demons that attacked them. So there will be no war. Rather, I want you to accompany me tomorrow. I will have a duel with that child. I will prove how strong he is since I felt his power, and I will tell you that he is easily in the rank of the gods. Tsukiyomi and Susanoo opened their eyes in surprise and disbelief. But they were also curious since they did not know why a demon saved the Yakai clan and killed dozens of other demons. Now both gods were very interested in the little demon who saved the Nico. The Mad Rasu noticed her brothers' faces. So she told them how the meeting went and who the young demon was and the challenge he gave Naruto. Susanoo, what you're telling me is interesting, brother. Tomorrow will accompany you to the meeting, and if the boy managed to impress me, I'll also give him my blessing. The battle that will take place tomorrow will be very interesting. Tsukiyomi, well, if the boy managed to impress me, I will also give him my full blessing. It is the least we can do after that little demon saved the Nasho. So tomorrow I will accompany you Amaterasu elsewhere in Japan, more exactly in Naruto's safe house. Kurama was talking with Sifun, the second in command of the Nikisho clan. They were both somewhat worried about Naruto and Yoruichi since they received a message saying that Naruto was fighting Amaterasu, and they both knew that the goddess of the sun and the universe was immensely powerful, with that goddess being in the top 2 of the strongest beings in the world. So Kurama-sama, do you think Lady Yuchi and Lord Naruto are okay? Asked a second in command of the Nasho and a supreme class Yakai. Kurama sighed with some tiredness. He knew that Naruto is strong but has not yet reached his full potential. And he knew that the goddess of the sun and the universe is extremely powerful. Grandma girl, I know. Naruto will be fine. Hell, just have a friendly fight with Lady Amaterasu. You have nothing to worry about. Naruto is strong. So nodded. She knew that Lady Yoruichi was strong, even stronger than some of the Mayu. And Lord Naruto was stronger than even the Mayu, according to Lady Yuchi. So she calmed down. She hoped they would come back soon. Pamas thought Naruto always getting into trouble. I just hope the battle with the strongest Shinto goddess doesn't kill you. I have to get stronger. Overcome my limits. My power may surpass those celestial dragons. But I know there are stronger beings. I have to get stronger to protect Naruto. Meanwhile, in the underworld, the 4 Mao are in an urgent meeting. Since the meeting with the Yakai leader and the leader of the Shinto gods is coming soon. Well, you know that it won't be long before we meet with Lady Isaka and Lady Amaterasu. Ajuka said seriously. Bilbilsub, Demon King, the Demon King of creation. The 3 Mayu and Greya, who was next to them, gave a sigh of tiredness, and a chill ran through them at the mere mention of Amaterasu, since that woman was extremely strong. Hell, she was in the top 2. She alone was capable of fighting against the 4 Mayu and defeating them. We know it, and I'm worried about what will happen to Amaterasu-sama. Everyone knows that Amaterasu-sama is a goddess with honor and kindness, but at the same time, she is a sadistic and cruel goddess with her enemies and a lover of battles. But she was also a very overprotective woman with the Yakai, especially with the Akasho. And with what happened, she may want to destroy us, commented Serafall seriously, and with some nervousness, to face a matter of hell. She knew she would be reduced to ashes if she based a matter. She was the top 2. Almost no being could face her, let alone defeat her. Serafall, Demon King, the Demon Queen of Ice and Water. The rest of the Mao frowned, and Greya said nothing, but she was somewhat worried about the consequences of the attack on the Nasho. The strongest queen knew that Amaterasu could destroy them. She just hoped that the meeting that would soon take place would be peaceful. This will be complicated. Let's just hope the negotiations go well. Besides, the Nakasho have not been killed since. It seems that the madman who took the cats massacred most of the demons that went to attack the Nasho, Serafall said with a frown, since hundreds of demons died in a cruel way. Serafall is Lucifer, Demon King, the Crimson Demon of Destruction. And we must be grateful that that boy massacred those demons that tried to attack the Nakasho. Because if the demons had killed the Nakasho, possibly Lady Yaka and Lady Amaterasu would declare war on us, said Falbium seriously, since he knew that if the massacre of the Yakai had occurred, the goddess of the sun would leave the underworld destroyed. Thalism, Demon King, the strategist of the underworld. Serafall frowned, and the rest nodded at the words of their Mao companion. They knew well that a matter would burn down all of hell if they killed her kittens. Serafall's thoughts. I hate to agree with Falbium, but he's right. If the Nasho had been killed, the biggest problem would be that Amarasu would have destroyed us and the Shinto and Yakai would have declared war on us. By the way, Serafall and your younger brother, where is he? I haven't seen him in the last few days, Falbium commented somewhat curiously. Serafall frowned and gave a somewhat tired sigh. My brother is in the human world. He left recently, but he will return. You don't have to worry, Falbium-chan, said Serafall with a small smile. Albium nodded in understanding and didn't ask any more questions as he saw Serafall was somewhat uncomfortable and didn't want to upset her. But I'm leaving. I have some things to do, said Serafall. I'm leaving too if that's all. I have things to do, commented Ajuka. Since he wanted to ask what really happened with Naruto. He knew that Serafall had not completely told the truth. The others nodded and left with many thoughts, but the main one was that a matter does not turn them into ashes for the attempted murder of the Nasho. The Fermayu only hoped that the negotiations would go calmly. End of chapter. Chapter 6. The potential of the Ice Emperor. Currently Naruto, Citri, also known as the Ice Emperor, is somewhat excited since soon he will face Amaterasu, the goddess of the sun and the universe and the top 2 of the strongest beings. The young Citri knew that he would not win this battle, not for the moment. But he also wanted to test what level he is at compared to the strongest sun goddess. And the same was happening with Amaterasu. She wanted to see the full potential of the child Citri who saved her kittens from being massacred by demons. So the goddess of the sun and the universe would test the power of the child Citri but would not kill him since she liked him after all, except a Yaokai clan from being massacred. And that was fine in her books. On the other hand, the fight would be being watched by the highest ranking gods of the Shinto faction as well as Yusaka and Uruchi, since they also wanted to see how well Naruto would do against the strongest sun goddess. Well, go to a place where we can fight more easily. And don't worry, give it your all since I'll go with everything, little Citriasu said seriously. I'm not going to hold back. It will be interesting to fight the strongest sun goddess, Naruto replied with a small smile. You're interesting little demon, but it's time to stop talking and give it our all. In our little battle, little Citri. So follow me to the ring I set up so we can fight peacefully, Amaterasu said and ordered. Naruto nodded and followed the goddess of the sun and the universe to a large door that impressed him. And when he entered, he saw a gigantic ring and noticed that outside the ring there were strong barriers that he's supposed to withstand his power. The Citri was impressed by the barriers since he realized that they could easily contain a Satan like his sister Serafall or the tomato of the current Lucifer. He could also notice that in the spectator stands were Yusaka the Yakai leader and Yoruchi the leader of the Nakasho. But he also noticed two people who had a high level of power, even higher than that of Lucifer. If he calculated well, they might be twice as strong as the current Lucifer. And he thought to himself that it is most likely Tsukiyomi and Susanoo, the brothers of the goddess of the sun and the universe. Well, now I will prove how strong you are, little demon. We will see how strong you are. Naruto Citri, shouted Amaterasu, releasing a part of her power that could easily be compared to that of a celestial dragon. It will be interesting to have a fight with you, Lady Amaterasu. I hope to be at your level of power, Naruto replied, releasing a power comparable to that of the celestial dragons. The auras of the sun goddess and the ice emperor collided, easily destroying each other. He put both opponents. They stared at each other, analyzing and seeing who would make the first move until Naruto moved by launching a large torrent of ice. But Amaterasu launched a torrent of fire, causing both the ice of the lesser Citri and the basic fire of the sun goddess to collide and cause a large explosion. In the stands, the gods of Shinto and Yusaka were wide-eyed as they felt the aura of Amaterasu and Naruto begin their fight, and a small shiver ran through them since Naruto's aura equals that of the celestial dragons. The trio knew that Amaterasu was still holding back, but they were impressed by the power that the demon Citri was releasing. Since there were few beings that equal and even less surpassed that of the celestial dragons, Susanoo, the power that the boy gives off is immense. I would even say that he easily surpasses me. He is at the level of celestial dragons. Tsukiyomi, it is impressive that a young demon has so much power. I would say that the child is even stronger than the current Mao. I am surprised that at such a young age, he can already have a power comparable to that of the celestial dragons. Isaka, the power of young Naruto is impressive. I would say that if he set his mind to it, he could easily fight against the former man. What I don't understand is how the young man went unnoticed by the devil community. According to rumors, his power is on par with a supreme class. But now that we see it, well, it is at the level of the celestial dragons. And that's nothing. I know that Neru's power is enormous. She hasn't released all her power yet. And even though she's not at Amaterasu-sama's level, I know she'll give him a good fight. At that, Susanoo, Tsukiyomi, and Yusaka opened their eyes in shock and disbelief, since that brat, who was no older than 10, had more power than even the celestial dragons. The Shinto gods now had an idea of the power of the Citri. But the battle of Amaterasu and Naruto, the duo continued to cast water and ice spells from Naruto and fire spells from Amaterasu's fire. Both of them were not fighting seriously yet. They were just testing each other. The Mataru, it's interesting the level that little Citri has, but what if we increase the level of this battle? Naruto, I think it's fine for us to increase our power level in this battle since we've proven ourselves enough to go to the next level. The Mad Rasu smiled and stepped back a few steps and making several magic circles, said scorching bombardment of the sun, thus coming out of the magic circles. Several fireballs so hot that even the spectators felt the heat. The fireballs went towards Naruto. Burritos thought Amaterasu's attack is strong, even though they only look like simple fireballs. Just one of those fireballs could cause great damage to a city. The goddess of the sun, if she's serious in this fight, well, I'll defend myself with a barrier. I don't want to take out my entire arsenal yet. Back at M1 Dank Void Division, whispered Naruto quickly. After Naruto said that, a large energy barrier protected him from Amaterasu's attack, impressing everyone with such a strong barrier. The matter is, I see that you stopped my attack with ease, little Naruto, and the barrier you used is not normal, since even the Mayu would have a lot of trouble stopping my attack, and I even doubt that they could stop it. You are very interesting, Naruto. What can I say? I am the best devil when it comes to sealing magic runes and barriers in that field. I have no equal. Lady Amaterasu, I noticed that, and I'm surprised by such a strong barrier. And although that attack wasn't the strongest I have, it could definitely damage even gods like Zeus. And you stopped it like it was nothing. But anyway, let's continue with the battle. Naruto, I agree now. I will go more seriously. Wind element, wind armor. Few know your way. After Naruto activated his armor, it disappeared in a flash and went against Amaterasu trying to punch her. Amaterasu noticed and dodged. But when Naruto's fist hit the ground, it generated a loud bang and caused a huge crater in the arena. Take this solar cannon, child, shouted Amaterasu, sending a large amount of divine energy surrounded by her fire towards Naruto. The aforementioned dodged Amaterasu's attack barely thanks to his wind armor. But when Amaterasu's attack collided with the barrier that prevented them from leaving, he could see that the attack cracked the barrier a little. And now he realized that the goddess of the sun would go seriously in the battle. So he activated his Risharingan. He would also get serious when Naruto activated his Risharingan, causing his power to skyrocket in an absurd manner. The spectators were speechless, since the power of the young Citri, the mad Rasu, smiled and released more than half of her power surrounding her body with fire, making her look like she was on fire. Both auras of such strong rivals collided with each other, causing the barrier that contained them to be damaged only by the aura of both Supreme God category opponents. But it's time to start this dance, Naruto said with a smile, and with his aura increasing, forming a huge dragon behind him. The orc, correct, little Naruto replied to Matarasu, increasing her aura, forming a large wolf behind her. In the stands, the spectators, especially Susanoo and Tsukiyomi, were with their mouths open, since their sister had just released 60 or 70% of her power. And that was a lot, since not even with them when they fought she released that much. And this made both brothers realize that their crazy sister was excited about the battle. Isaka, it's unreal how that child of no more than 10 years old can make Amaterasu Marley so much of her power. Baruchi, I knew was strong. I thought he could be on par with Lord Hades or Lord Odin. But now I think his power even surpasses them. I never thought Naruto would be so strong as to make a matter Sama get serious in battle. Susanoo, and not only that, but he has great control of his power. And I realize that that brat is at the level of supreme gods like Odin or Hades, maybe even surpassing them. Tsukiyomi, he definitely surpasses them. I estimate that the child's power may be on par with a beast known as Tiffin, or even at the level of the strongest Norseman called Thor, and that is amazing. What I do not understand is how the devil faction did not realize the child's power, since it would be very difficult to hide all the power that is coming out of that little demon. Baruchi Naruto hid his power with a containment seal. He didn't want the elders or even the Mayu to bother him for being super strong and compromise him with any demon. The others nodded in understanding, since they knew, or at least knew something about the demonic council and the truth in the eyes of others. Those old fossils are garbage. In the battle between Amaterasu and Naruto, both were fighting hand to hand in a very similar battle. Although it was noticeable that the sun goddess was gradually overcoming the minor Citri, knew that Amaterasu was still holding back, and that bothered him a little, but he had to accept that the sun goddess had surpassed him. Bakum 63 Sagaku mandatory coiling chain, shouted Naruto. Sending several energy ropes, immobilizing Amaterasu. Boruto's thoughts. I can only immobilize them for a couple of seconds. Their heat will be strong enough to burn even a level 60 Bakudo. Now is the time to attack. I will use a level 90 Ho. I have to recite the chant so that it has more power. It is time to teach that goddess that I am not a game. Limit of 1,000 hands. Out of respect, one cannot touch the darkness. The shooting hand is not reflected in the blue sky. The path of the light of the sun. The wind that fans the flames. Time that gathers. When both are together, there is no need to hesitate. Obey my command. Bullet Light 8 Bodies New Item. Book of Heaven Treasures. Great Wheels. Gray Fortress. Keep your distance. Disperse and clean when shooting. 8091. Send you tame sky cannon of 1,000 bright hands. Naruto shouted, forming several spheres of energy that radiated enormous power, sending it towards Amaterasu. Amaterasu's thought, if that attack hits me, it's time to get more serious. White fire armor. When Naruto's attack collided with Amaterasu, it caused a huge explosion. But when the smoke cleared, you could see an Amaterasu with an armor from which a white fire sprang forth as hot as the sun itself. That armor was one of Amaterasu's best defenses. That armor was a divine armor that was surrounded by the power of Amaterasu's sun. This armor was so strong that even Shiva, the god of destruction, would have a lot of trouble destroying it. As the smoke cleared, Naruto opened his eyes in surprise at Amaterasu's armor and frowned as one of his strongest halo did not cause any damage to the goddess of the sun in the universe. And he wondered what armor was that to defend against one of her best Ho. Naruto, Lady Amaterasu, your armor is very impressive to withstand one of my 90 Ho. Now I see why you are positioned in the top 2. You are not only a Heil goddess, but a supreme category 1 in its maximum splendor. The Mad Rasu. Little Naruto, don't discredit yourself when you caught me for a few seconds and then threw that great attack at me. You were able to damage, so I had to resort to one of my best defenses that even Shiva would have trouble destroying. So, you should be happy for making me take out one of my strongest armors. Now, I know not to be trusted. After all, your power would easily be positioned in the top 7 or 6 of the strongest beings. Naruto opened his eyes in surprise. As a matter, Asu recognized that his attack was dangerous and even rated him as one of the top 10 beings. He felt flattered but at the same time somewhat nervous. He didn't think that a practice battle would take him so far. But he dismissed it and created a sword with his demonic energy and went against Amaterasu, the goddess of the sun did the same with her divine energy and both fought in a sword duel at an enormous speed. Although it was noticeable that the goddess of the sun had the advantage in the sword duel without counting that the divine energy of the goddess of the sun was slowly breaking her sword due to the immense power that it possessed. Naruto sighed, realizing that fighting like that wouldn't harm the goddess. While Linda Stan's Usaka and Yoruchi had their eyes wide open, they never thought that Amaterasu had such strong armor to defend herself from such a high attack from Naruto. If that attack could reach them, it would have easily damaged them considerably. In the case of Amaterasu's siblings, both Susanoo and Tsukiyomi were open-mouthed as their sister summoned her divine armor and was even using her white flames, the strongest flames she possesses that could even burn the divine bodies of high-level gods. Susanoo, that brat is making a matter serious. I know she's not using her full power, but she's definitely getting serious. She might be using 70% of her power, and not only that, but she's also using her white flames that are so strong that they will match the power of Shiva's destruction. Tsukiyomi, that child, has more potential than Lucifer himself. I think that child may be close to Lucifer's level. It's amazing for someone his age. Isaka, I didn't get to meet the first Lucifer, but it is said that his power could match the biblical God, and that little boy is close to Lucifer's level. It's amazing and terrifying. Fortunately, we are not his enemy. Baruchi, I knew Naruto was strong, but this is amazing. I think he just lacks experience on the battlefield and maybe he can position himself among the top 5 strongest beings. Tsukiyomi, I think we should stop this battle between my sister and the little boy Citri. The barrier that is on the battlefield is breaking. Look, and the barrier is very damaged. The auras of both are out of logic and even the attacks that are being launched are not just anything. But Tsukiyomi said made Susanoo, Yusaka, and Yoruchi fix their eyes on the barrier. And it was true. The barrier was being destroyed by all the power that Amaterasu and Naruto were releasing in the battle of Amaterasu and Naruto. But it's time to use my chakra-based attacks, Naruto thought, making hand positions, creating 5 shadow clones. Each clone made hand positions and said each one. Clone 1, Water Element, Water. Dragon God. Clone 2, Lightning Release God, Lightning Dragon. Clone 3, Earth Element God, Earth Dragon. Clone 4, Wind Release Wind Dragon God. Clone 5, Fire Element, Fire Dragon God through Naruto. Ice Release Ice Dragon God. So Naruto and his clones launched several dragons of the primary elements and a dragon of the secondary element, which is ice. The Mataru frowned. The boy's attack was strong, but it wouldn't do much against her. So she wondered what Naruto was thinking. Sacred fire burns everything in your path, recited Amaterasu, launching a torrent of fire at Naruto's attack, causing the dragons and the Matarasu's torrent of fire to collide, generating a great explosion. The Madarasu went against Naruto and tried to throw a punch, but the black-haired man dodged and touched the Madarasu with his hand and shouted Shinrai, sending the sun goddess flying. It's time. The seals were already placed. Naruto thought sealing-style 1,000 retention seals. Several seals appeared on the Madarasu, surprising her. But the sun goddess realized something. These seals were definitely those of a master, and saw that part of his power was suppressed by those seals, frowned, since her fire could not easily burn those seals. A mad Rasu, without a doubt, your seals are dangerous, little Naruto. This seal that you have made me has been able to seal 25% of my power. Without a doubt, you are a master of seals. And with your mastery, I know that in a few years, you will easily surpass everyone in this field. But despite the fact that you have sealed part of my power, you will not be able to defeat me. Naruto, you're right about that. I know I can't defeat you, Lady Amaterasu, but at least I want you to see what I'm capable of. And that despite being a child, I can defend myself even from opponents much stronger than me. So, let's continue with the fight. The Madarasu smiled and turned off her power. She had seen enough of Naruto's power, and the truth surprised her. The boy was worthy of her blessing, and she was sure that Susanoo and Tsukiyomi would also see him worthy. After all, the boy was able to face her for a moment, and was even able to seal part of her power. Although that was because she had trusted herself throughout the battle and was not fighting seriously. But she also realized that Naruto still had several cards to play. But it was better to stop the battle since the barrier was being destroyed. The matter is, it is no longer necessary to fight, child. You have already proven that you are strong and that you are even a skilled sealing master, which is rare in the supernatural world. So, you have earned my blessing. It is time to go and take a break. It has been a while since I released much of my power, and it is somewhat tiring to do so. Naruto sighed and nodded. He wanted to continue testing himself against Amaterasu, but that no longer mattered. At least he proved to the goddess that he is strong. Naruto. Okay, lady. Amaterasu. Let's go to the stands. I feel the emotions of your brothers, Lady Isaka and Yoruchi-chan. I feel that they are worried and somewhat nervous. The Madarasu was surprised that the boy could sense people's emotions, and compared it to Seraphim, Gabriel's power to sense people's hearts. A very impressive power. The Madarasu. Well, as I promised, I will give you my blessing. The battle was very interesting. But, first, let's go where the rest are. After a matter said that the goddess and Naruto stepped out of the barrier and approached the spectators. I recognize that the battle you had with my sister was very interesting, and the skills you used, Citri boy, were very interesting, commented Susanoo. Very impressed by the small demonstration battle. I recognize that your power is on a higher scale. Little Citri is very impressive. Now I realize that you occupy the top 10 of the strongest beings, said Tsukiyomi seriously. Although Naruto noticed drops of sweat coming out of the goddess of the moon. Thank you. I feel flattered to be recognized by you Shinto gods. Naruto commented, with a small smile. Well, brothers, I know you were impressed by the battle. Now fulfill the promise you made me. It's time for you to also give your blessing to little Naruto. Amaterasu commented. Susanoo and Tsukiyomi snorted but nodded. They would keep the promise they made to Amaterasu. Naruto was impressed by what Amaterasu said, but said nothing since he did not know that Susanoo and Tsukiyomi were also going to bless him. He wondered what abilities the blessings of the three Shinto gods would give him. End of chapter. Chapter 7. Rescue. And the plans begin. After the battle between Naruto, the strongest young demon, and Amaterasu, the strongest goddess of the sun, Naruto benefited greatly since he managed to impress the goddess of the sun in the universe, along with impressing the goddess's brothers known as Susanoo, the god of the sea and storms, and Tsukiyomi, the goddess of the moon. The benefits that Naruto managed to get was an alliance with the Yokai and the Shinto gods. In addition, by impressing the strongest Shinto gods, he earned the greatest gift from the trio of brothers. And this is the blessing of the trio of gods that provided him with unique powers with great benefits. The first blessing is from Amaterasu, the goddess of the sun and the universe. The power that she gave Naruto was that the young demon can control white fire, a fire as hot as the sun, and finally provided him with a use of one of the most destructive magic to such an extent that it was on par with the power of destruction. And this magic is solar magic, the power to carbonize everything in its path. The second blessing is that of Susanoo, the god of the sea, storms and battles. The second strongest of the brothers gave Naruto the power to control lightning, water, and storms. And finally, Tsukiyomi, the goddess of the moon, with her blessing, gives Naruto the power to be immune to almost any illusion, and that he can use one of the most dangerous and powerful magic of the supernatural world. This is lunar magic, a magic so destructive and dangerous that the best users could destroy entire cities with an attack of that type of magic. The three blessings provided Naruto with a great increase in power. And in the eyes of Amaterasu with good training, she knew that Naruto could position himself in the top 3 or 2 of the strongest beings. Currently, Naruto was going to the safe house along with Hachi, where the Nakasho clan and Kurama were since the meeting with the Shinto and the leader of the Yokai went very well to the point that now they had an alliance with Both factions and Naruto could now have the protection of one of the strongest factions. Garama, how did the meeting with the matter and the leader of the Yako? Asked the strongest Kyobi since he was curious. He just hoped that Naruto hadn't done anything stupid like making them enemies with the Shinto gods. That would be catastrophic. He knew he was strong, but the Shinto outclassed them by far. Baruchi. The meeting went well. Naruto was able to get an alliance with the Shinto and the Yakai thanks to impressing Lady Amaterasu. And not only that, but Naruto was able to get the blessing of Lady Amaterasu, Lord Susanoo, and Lady Tsukiyomi finished speaking the strongest Nakasha with a big smile. Garama opened his eyes in surprise. He had been informed of this world, and the Yakai in the supernatural world was an interesting faction, maybe not as strong, but had very interesting chakra techniques. Well, the Shinto faction was very powerful, one that could only be matched by the Hindu gods. And having an alliance with those two factions was very beneficial to them, and even more so since Naruto was able to obtain the blessings of the Shinto Trinity. Garama, it's good to have those two factions as allies. It will make it much easier for us to move around their territory. Naruto, you are absolutely right. But now, we need to prepare and get more allies, and it is very convenient that our allies are faction leaders or beings in the top 10 of the strongest. Barama nodded in understanding. He knew how important it was to get new allies, especially because that way they would have the protection of important people, and the demonic council and the tomato would not bother him. Harama, I also wanted to tell you that I located Karoka's energy and didn't look for her since she would run away from me. Since she didn't know me. So I had to wait for you to come back and we would go look for the catgirl. Naruto and Yaruchi opened their eyes in surprise as now they could see Karoka again and give her their protection so that the demonic council would not harm her. And if those fossils tried to do something, they would be in charge of exterminating and torturing them. Naruto, then we will go right now. I will not allow Karokan to be harmed by the demonic council. Yaruchi, you stay. I will go with Kurama. It is time to help my best friend. Baruchi nodded in understanding, knowing that one had to stay in case something happened, while Kurama nodded to Naruto. He knew how important Karoka was to Naruto. Kurama, okay. Naruto, well, go to Tokyo. That's where I felt Karoka sends energy. We have to go quickly since she might leave that city. Or maybe the council demons might find her. Naruto nodded and sided with Kurama, and they both disappeared in a whirlwind of fire towards Tokyo. It was time to find Karoka. Meanwhile, in Toki, in an alley, you could see a somewhat injured black cat. Since recently she was chased by demons that she could barely kill, since they were demons that were at the level of middle and high class demons. She barely managed to defeat them because of the number of demons. And it was possible thanks to the fact that she was at the level of a low-level supreme class demon thanks to the training she had. Naruto, her best friend, she just hoped that Naruto and her younger sister Shirin okay now she needed to go to a safe place, but she came out of her ramblings as she felt two presences, two very strong. One was somewhat familiar but at the same time different, and the other possessed an amount chakra so large that it easily surpassed the Santanas in power and that made her swallow dry. Baroka's thought, what the hell are those two? Those two presences. One seems familiar to me, but at the same time different, and the other has such a large amount of chakra that even any of the 4 meals in energy level. The chakra level of that person is so great, what, but at the same time dark. This is strange. The cat came out of her ramblings when she visualized who those two powerful presences were. She recognized one of them was her best friend Naruto Citri, also known as the Ice Emperor. And next to him was a slightly older boy. But she knew that this boy was very strong. So strong that he could easily challenge the current Satans with ease. But she wondered why the hell Naruto was in this place. Naruto saw a black cat and felt her magical signature. He knew it was Karoka. Although it was noticeable that she was weakened and injured. And he cursed the tomato for sending demons to hunt his best friend. The tomato will pay at some point. For such insolence. He will not allow anyone to harm his people. And if he had to erase the grimoires, he will do it. He would erase anyone who tries to hurt his allies. Or his precious beings. Baroa. I know the cat is you. I know this wound. Don't be afraid. I will not hand you over to the demonic council or the form I come to this place to offer you my protection. I want to heal you. So I ask you please to transform into your human form and let's go to my safe house to heal you. Naruto ordered with a soft voice. He didn't want to scare his best friend or make her distrust him since he was here to protect her. Baroka was happy her best friend came to look for her and told the entire demonic council to buck off, and even the four Mayu being one of those for the sister of her best friend that made her feel happy, since that meant that Naruto came for her. He wanted her by his side and would do everything to protect her. She was grateful, she was happy, but she was also afraid of hurting Naruto. Thank you for coming, Naru. Really thank you, said Karoka, weakly transforming into her human form where several wounds could be noticed on her body. Naruto saw his best friend with a smile. But inside he wanted to massacre everyone from the demonic council, since it was because of him that Karoka was hurt. Kurama, please carry Karoka. She is weak. I can tell. We will go to the safe house, Naruto ordered. Gramama snorted. He didn't like being ordered around, but now he wouldn't say anything. He knew Naruto was worried about the girl. So in a burst of speed appeared next to Karoka carrying her. What are you doing, Nia? Karoka asked, annoyed that she was being carried by a person she didn't know. I just carried you so you wouldn't force yourself. Now shut up, girl. It's time to go, said Kurama, walking towards Naruto, and they disappeared in a large whirlwind of fire towards the security hunt. After Naruto and Kurama were able to rescue Karoka, the three appeared in Naruto's room, where Kurama placed the Nasho on the bed to rest. Karoka-chan, you will stay momentarily in this room. I will heal your wounds. I don't want anything to happen to you, said Naruto. I'll go get Yuchi. She needs to know that we found Karoka. Kurama informs, seriously leaving the room. Naruto nodded and Karoka opened her eyes in surprise. She didn't think that Yoruchi was with Naruto. She had heard that her clan was attacked and that someone was able to rescue them, but she never thought that the one who rescued them was Naruto. Thank you, Naru, for rescuing my clan. I am truly grateful, said Karoka, weakly crying. Since the man who was next to her did a lot, gave her his friendship, is giving her his protection, and now she knows that this man rescued her clan, her people. Naruto opened his eyes in surprise, but smiled as he realized that Karoka now knows that he was the one who rescued the Nakasho. I guess you realized that I was the one who massacred that army of demons to protect the Nasho, and you don't have to thank me. You are my best friend and your clan is important to me. So I did what was necessary to protect them, Naruto said seriously. Haruka smiled. She was happy to have a friend like Naruto. Now she was 100% sure to follow him. He has done a lot for her. So she would be by Naruto's side and be his shield. Naru, can I ask you a favor? Karoka asked, somewhat nervously, since she didn't know if her friend would accept what she wanted. Naruto raised an eyebrow, but nodded, somewhat curious as to what his best friend wanted. Karoka, seeing Naruto nod, breathed a sigh of relief. I want to be part of your nobility. I want you to make me stronger. I want to be the one who can also protect you. I don't care what piece you select, but I want to be by your side. Naru. I want to protect you, said Karoka with great conviction. Naruto opened his eyes in surprise and thought about it. On the one hand, Karoka would be part of his nobility and could be more protected. On the other hand, maybe in the long term, the demons of the council, when they find out that Karoka is in his nobility, would screw him. But he didn't care about that. The truth is, if the decrepit old men did something to them, he would annihilate them. He would erase them from existence. Well, Kurochan accepted that you can belong to my nobility. You will be my first pawn. I hope you strive and grow stronger by my side. Karoka Taojo, said Naruto, taking out a pawn piece that entered Karoka. When the pawn piece entered Karoka, it destroyed the old pieces that the Nasho had at last. The pawn piece that was inserted into Karoka caused Karoka's magic and chakra reserves to double or triple. And not only that, but Karoka's wounds were healed. It's interesting what my pawn piece has done to you. I feel like your reserves have almost tripled. Your reserves are comparable to a mid to high mid-level ultimate class demon. Before, your reserves were on par with a high-end or low ultimate class demon, Naruto commented, somewhat surprised. I'm surprised, but at the same time, I feel tired, Kuroku replied, somewhat sleepy due to the physical and mental stress she had suffered in her battle with the demons that hunted her. I'll let you sleep. I'll tell you that you're recovered and that you just need to rest. We'll see each other tomorrow, Kurochan said. Naruto approaching Kuroka, giving her a kiss on the forehead and leaving the room. Karoka blushed a little but went to bed. She was tired. Tomorrow she would talk to Lady Yuchi and Naruto, her new king. When Naruto left the room, he could notice a somewhat annoyed Kurama and Yuruchi with a mischievous smile which made him snort. He knew why Yuruchi was with that smile, but he didn't understand Kurama's annoyed face. But I guess tomorrow we'll talk to Koko, right? Naru asked Yuruchi. Yes, tomorrow we will talk. Yuruchi, it's time to rest. And Kurama, why do you have that annoyed face? Did I do something wrong? Naruto asked at the end with some curiosity, since it was not normal for the fox to behave that way. Uruchi mentally face-palmed herself. She knew why Kurama was a little angry, and she didn't blame him since Naruto made Karoka part of his peerage first, and she knew that Kurama wanted to be part of Naruto's peerage, only that fox was so proud that he doubted he asked Naruto, and Naruto was sometimes too much of an idiot to notice. Gramama snorted and went to his room. He loved Naruto like a brother, but sometimes he was an idiot. He didn't understand how the Citri didn't realize that he wanted to belong and become a member of his nobility for two reasons. The first was that by becoming a member of his nobility, they could call themselves family, since each deer would always have an energy signature similar to that of their kings. In addition, he knew that if he became a member of Naruto's nobility, they could become stronger thanks to those Naruto pieces that, unlike normal demonic pieces, gave off a strange energy, and from what he could see, it increased the power of the deer. Baruchi denied the moment Kurama left that fox was a grump and dramatic, sometimes also an idiot. Bull Naruto saw Kurama's behavior somewhat strange, but did not comment on anything now. He had to get more alliances and strengthen himself and get followers in case he had to leave the underworld, or if the old fossils banished him, since he knew that if the council could not have him under their control, most likely they would do something to banish him. Also had to return to the underworld to be able to talk to his family. Okay, Naruto, what are your plans now? We now have an alliance with the Shinto and the Yakai faction. And we also found Kurochan. What's the next step? Yoruichi asked the last question. Simple. We have to have a meeting with Lord Odd, and the Norsemen will be good allies in the future. I'm also thinking of meeting with Lord Hades, Lady Hesta, and Lord Hephaestus of the Greek faction. Those 3 Greeks are some of the few who are not idiots, said Naruto. Somewhat annoyed when talking about the Greeks. Baruchia raised an eyebrow in curiosity. She understood that the Norse could be good allies, and she understood that Hesta and Hephaestus could be good allies since Hesta was the second strongest Olympian, only below Hades, and Hephaestus is a blacksmith who could build any type of weapon. What she didn't understand was why the hell Naruto wanted to meet with Hades, being that god, the one who hated demons the most. You're probably wondering why I want to meet Hades, right? Yoruichi asked Naruto attended curiously, as she wants to know why Naruto wants to do something so risky. The answer is simple, Yoruichi-chan. Lord Hades does not hate demons. He only hates tomato. Since the idiot offended the Greek god, from what I could investigate, that is why Hades is hostile to demons. But he does not hate them. He only hates our leader. Naruto answered simply. Yoruichi opened her eyes in surprise and disbelief. The idiot. Lucifer offended the strongest Greek. She knew that Hades was one of the most tolerant Greeks. Despite being the god of the underworld, he was a god respected by many beings of the supernatural world. Unlike Zeus, who was an idiot, who only thought with his hick, she didn't understand how the current Lucifer did something so idiotic. She knew that before Hades didn't hate demons, but he wasn't a fan of them either. He was neutral. But now he understood the change in attitude of the strongest Greek god. Now I understand, and from what I see, you want to get the god Hades on your side. And if you have Hades on your side, you can have Hesta. And if you have Hesta, you will have Hephaestus. Your plan is very calculating and interesting. But it would be best to start with the Norse first, commented Yoruichi. Amused, her leader was a person who thought of everything and knew he would achieve it. Naruto felt happy that his friend understood his plan. But I don't only want the Greeks and Norsemen on my side, but also the elves, the wizards, and the dragons. It's time to start recruiting, and you, Yoruichi, will help me. I want you to contact the Hatter. Tell him to join us. I know you can convince him. I need his brilliant mind to create some things. He will be in charge of some of my companies. Tell him that I will offer him the position of president of the Uzumaki Technology Company, while he creates magical artifacts that benefit us, said Naruto. I see that you are not only a handsome boy, but also brilliant and calculating. And I understand why you want to contact that fool, Urara. And don't worry. Tomorrow I will go look for him. I know he will accept, since it will be a great opportunity for him, Yoruichi replied, smiling. Although inside she was somewhat nervous about seeing Urara again. Perfect. I will meet with Lick, the leader of the Elven tribe, to make an alliance. And then I will go for Tiamat, the strongest dragon queen. It is time for the plans to begin, Naruto said with a smile. It was time to start his plans to change everything in the world. End of chapter. Naruto Citri no ability change one king. Naruto the Ice Emperor Demon God. That will be his appearance as a teenager. Queen Volzato. True Dragon, Ice White Dragon. Any Tensai Chidorus Slime Data. In this FIC, she would be an ancient dragon queen. But she is sealed. Her power rivals that of first level gods like Indra, Isami, or Brahma. In the story, she explains more about her and why she joined Naruto, Bishop, Velgarin, True Dragon, the Embracing Dragon, anime. Tensai Chidor, Slime Data. The power of this dragon is only slightly inferior to that of Volato. And like Volato, She is one of the first dragon kings. So, she can easily fight. On par with Indra, Bishop Gilgamesh, the king of heroes, the strongest hero. Anime. Fate. In the story, it will be indicated how Gilgamesh joined Naruto. I will only say that the king of heroes sees Naruto as an equal and believes him to be a good king. Knight. Arthur Pendragon, the Knight of Hope, King of Knights. I will put this in male in the story. I will explain why. Anime Fate. King Arthur will join Naruto for various reasons that history will indicate later. Knight Morad Pendragon, the Knight of Betrayal, the Crimson Knight. Anime Fate. Dear Kurama, the Kyuubi of Chaos, the strongest Kyuubi. Anime Naruto, Dear Vora, True Dragon, Storm Dragon. Anime Tensei Chidorus Slime. Data Ken. The power of this dragon is only slightly inferior to that of like she is one of the first dragon kings. So she can easily fight on par with Indra. Han Sabo, Master of Flames, the Phoenix of Order. Anime One Piece. Pawn Ace, Master of Flames, the Phoenix of Chaos. Anime One Piece. Honex, the Master of Flames, the Phoenix of Balance. Anime DxD. Horn, Toshiro, Hitsugaya, the Ice Master, Ice Dragon Swordsman. Any Bleach Horn EZD Cruelest Woman. Anime Aim Georgia Kill Mistre and Jutsu Lodge Negra, the Nim DxD Pawn Semi-Ramus, the Black Witch, the Wise Queen of Astria, the Nime Fate Pawn Conan, the Paper Angel, the Origami Masters, the Nim Nudo. This will be Naruto's first fixed nobility. Some of these characters will be on par with or even some of the middle-class gods also. Some of these characters will be in the top 10. Chapter 8. Meetings and Recruitment Part 1. Currently, Naruto Citri was in a meeting with Kisukurera and Yoruchi. The leader of the Nikisha with them was also Kurama, the Biju of the Nine Tails. This meeting was for the recruitment of Urahara Kisuke and put him on Naruto's side. Since the Hatter was one of the most intelligent beings in the world, being positioned as one of the 3 most intelligent beings in the world. Well, Kisuke and I want you to join me and manage part of my companies in the human world. I want you to be the one in charge of the development department and magical weapons and human weapons. I know well that you have a store and that some gods and factions want you by their side for your intelligence and power. Being someone who, in terms of intelligence and strategies, you are on par with the Muajuka, and in power, you may even be as strong as low-level gods, said Naruto calmly. Isaac opened his eyes slightly in surprise. He knew why. The demon child who saved Yoruchi wanted him, but he didn't expect him to give him so many benefits. He just thought he would be in charge of being a scientist, maybe chief scientist, but he didn't think the child would want him to manage his companies. And he wondered how the hell the child had companies, but he dismissed that since, according to Yoruchi, the child is immensely rich and has power equal to the beings in the middle of the top 10, which made him nervous since he knows that he didn't have much of a chance with the beings in the top 10 since he knows that most of those beings surpass celestial dragons. Kisuke, your offer seems very tentative to me. Honestly, I thought you only wanted me as another scientist, but I didn't think you wanted me to manage some of your companies. But since I owe you for saving Yoruchi, I accept your deal, young Citri, with a few small conditions. Harama and Yoruchi stayed away. They wouldn't say anything. They wanted to see how the meeting between Naruto and Kisuke developed. Naruto, well, Kisuke, I want you to tell me what your conditions are so that you can join my side. If your conditions are acceptable, I will do what you ask. Bizik nodded. He wouldn't ask for such overwhelming things. He just wanted a couple of things to agree to work with the demon child who, in his opinion, from what he felt, his power could rival the top 8 of the strongest. Bizik, well, young Citri, what I wish is for you To give your protection to my best friend's family and some friends of mine. I know that each of my friends are strong in their own right, perhaps at the level of a midter Hyle Supreme Class Demon. And 2 or 3 of them are at the level of a demon. Like Grey Elucifuge, the strongest queen of the underworld. But I do not want to risk it. My friends are not criminals, but they are wanted by the Vatican since they did experiments with my companions, but I was able to rescue them. So, they are hiding. For the moment. And in the case of the family that I mentioned, they have special powers. And one of that family also carries a power similar to my friends who were experiments. But unlike my friends, the boy does not control his power. What I ask of you is protection. From what Yoruchi told me, you are strong enough to be in the top 10. So, with your strength and influence, you can protect them from the church. They will be loyal to you as long as you promise to support them. Baruchi opened her eyes in shock since the idiot Kisuk wanted the visor, the masked army, to join Naruto. She knew how strong those boys were, easily at the level of supreme class demons, and Hero may be on par with a Satan. The truth is, she was happy but at the same time surprised, since she wanted her friends to have a place to live in peace without the church looking for them to kill them. She knew that the angels had nothing to do with the experiments, but it was the church. She just hoped that Naruto accepts what Kisuk wants, since with the support of the Yakai and the Shinto, she was sure that the visor and the Kurosaki family would be well protected, especially with Naruto's power that will grow over time. Naruto thought about it for a moment. He saw concern in Kisuk, so he assumed he esteemed that family and his friends. He would accept the deal as long as those kids didn't do anything stupid. He just hoped those kids wouldn't give him headaches. Nudo, Wellcups, and I accept your requests. I will offer you my protection along with that of your companions. I see nothing wrong with it. As long as they do nothing wrong, your friends and the family that you want to protect will be able to have a place and will be under your responsibility and will have my protection. Brahma. Well, since Naruto accepted your requests, I will only say this. Kisuks, I do not want you to betray my little brother, because if not, I will finish you. Naruto is very loyal to his people. But if you try to betray them or anyone who is under his command, I will liquidate them. When Kurama finished speaking, he released his aura. Kisuk felt that the power of that Kobe is so great that it could easily surpass that of the celestial dragons. Bizik Sudo, he is several years old and realized that the Kobe that was in front of him easily equals in power with Hades, the god of the underworld, if not surpasses him. Perhaps he is on par with Typhon, the terror of the Greek gods, and that terrified him. He knew that this being could fight on equal terms with the 3 great ones of Olympus at the same time, and that this Kobe is on par with that being terrified him a lot. But at the same time, it relieved him, since as long as he does not do anything stupid, he will have a powerful loyal ally. Naruto looked at Kurama and raised his aura, making Kurama look at Naruto and frown. But he understood what Naruto was saying with his look, and that is to turn off his aura, which he did reluctantly. Naruto, sorry for what Kurama did. He is very overprotective of me. But as he said, as long as you are loyal, you will have nothing to worry about. Bizik sighed in relief that Naruto and Kurama's auras had gone out. He realized that both the Kobe in front of him and the child Naruto were 2 new beings that were positioned in the top 10. The Kobe was easily on par with Typhon, and the child Naruto was easily on par with Thor, which dismayed him and made him curious why the child was not in the underworld, but he dismissed it since he had to give Naruto an answer. Bizik, well, young Naruto and young Kurama will not betray you. I will be loyal to you just like my friends who will come to my side. You saved Yuchi and will protect my loved ones. So I will be loyal to you and to continue with these negotiations. What companies you want me to handle? Nudo. Simple. I want you to take charge of Uzumaki Corporation and other small businesses. I want you to make my company grow faster. I know it's going well, but with your support, I know my business will grow much faster. I also want you to recruit people, whether humans or other beings. I know that with Yuchi's help, you will be able to recruit other beings. Well, I will take care of making new alliances. Bizik nodded and raised an eyebrow in curiosity, wanting to know who his new leader wanted an alliance with. Who do you want an alliance with? Naruto asked the Hatter, curiously. Simple. I'm going to make alliances with Lord Hades and Lady Hesta. They are the two strongest Greek gods, and they are one of the few decent Greek gods. I will also contact the Dragon Kings and other leaders of small tribes and small factions, Naruto answered with a small smile. Vizik was surprised. The boy wanted to make an alliance with the Dragon Kings and Lord Hades, the strongest Greek god, Lady Hesta and the elves. And who knows who else he wanted to make an alliance with. And from what he could see, he knew that his leader could achieve it. Bizik. It's interesting, and I hope you succeed, young Naruto. Naruto nodded with a smile. Now, first, he would meet his sister, Serafall. It's time to see her. Just hope she's not angry. 3 days after the meeting with Urahara Kisuk, Naruto could be seen somewhat tense as it was time to talk with his older sister and his family. Okay, Naruchan, you'll tell me why you disappeared for so long. I want you to tell me the truth, Serafall ordered seriously. Naruto snorted, but nodded. He would tell them a half-truth. He didn't want his older sister to get in trouble with the demon council, knowing that those fossils would be worse than the Konoha council. Barachan. Very interesting things happened, said Naruto, thus beginning to tell part of the story. Such as when he arrived, the demons that attacked the Nasha were dead. How he had found Karoka and now she is under his protection as his pawn. How he spoke in favor of the demons to Yoruchi so that she would speak with Amaterasu and Shinto would not declare war on the underworld. Serafall was increasingly impressed with her brother and now realized why Amaterasu was easy to convince to have a meeting. Since if the goddess of the sun had been angry, she could burn all of hell and destroy the entire population of demons. She knew that despite being strong and having the help of her Mao companions, they would hardly be able to against Amaterasu, even if Greya, who is a demon of the caliber of Satan, supported them, since the strongest goddess of Shinto was someone who occupies the top 2 of the strongest beings in the world. Well, I need you to see so. She's very angry with your disappearance. The same with our parents. It's time for you to go and talk to them. Tell her part of what you told me a moment ago, but don't tell her anything about Karoka. We'll keep that for now. I don't want the council to find out that you have Karoka and your nobility. Serafall said seriously. You're right, but it will be very problematic to talk to Sanakan and our parents. I may be stronger than them, but they are too overprotective of me for being the youngest in the family, Naruto replied. Serafall sighed. She knew that Naruto was the one her parents protected the most for being the youngest in the family. But now she realized that her brother hides many secrets. She knew that her brother may be a supreme class demon or a Satan class demon, maybe even at Greya's level. But she wouldn't say anything for the moment since she knew that the council would upset her little brother and she didn't want that, so she would keep quiet. Serafall, well, I'll go with you to talk to our parents. Don't worry, my Naru nodded and went with Serafall, both disappearing in a magic circle towards Citri Castle. It was time to talk to his parents. Citri Castle, residents of one of the most important families in the underworld. The entire Citri family could be seen with unfriendly faces. Since the youngest of the family disappeared for several days, they all knew that Naruto disappeared, but he never disappeared for so long, and that worried them and angered them. The whole family remained in a bad mood until suddenly a magic circle opened and they saw with joy as Naruto appeared with Serafall. Naruto saw his family somewhat nervous since they all seemed happy, but he knew they were angry because he disappeared for several days. Hello, Sanok-chan. Mother, father. The stranger said Naruto with a smile, although he was nervous to see the looks of his family. The three Citri looked at the youngest of their family with narrowed eyes. But then the trio launched themselves at Naruto to hug him. Where have you been, Naruto? I've been very worried about you. I know that sometimes you leave and arrive the next day, but this time you disappeared for several days without leaving a message. What have you been doing? Lady Citri asked. I agree with your mother, Naruto. We are worried about you. I know you are strong, but you are still a child. You cannot disappear as if nothing had happened. That does not mobilize my troops since Serafall convinced us that you will soon appear. So I want you to tell me where you were and why you escaped from the underworld for so many days, said Lord Citri. I also want to know what you've been doing, brother. You may be stronger than almost everyone in this room, but you're still the youngest, and I worry about you. I don't want you to get into trouble, said Sona with a serious voice. Although her sadness was noticeable, Budo frowned and sighed. He knew he had to give his family some information to reassure them. Otherwise, they wouldn't let him leave this place. I was simply looking for Karoka-chan and seeing what's going on in the world. You don't have to worry. Nothing will happen to me for the moment. I want to be away from the underworld. I know that he incriminated Karoka. She is good, so I know she is innocent, said Naru, releasing his power because of the anger he felt. Remembering what the pathetic previous king of Karoka tried to do to him and what the fossils did to his best friend. When Naruto released his power, everyone stopped in their tracks. Since the power Naruto was releasing easily matched that of the Saiyans, the Citri realized what he did and lowered his power so his little sister could breathe. Sona looked at her brother with some disbelief. The same thing happened with her parents. They looked at Naruto with surprise since they did not think that the catgirl and her youngest son were such good friends. I know that even though I forbid you to leave, you will leave, Naruto. I know that you are stronger than you let on and can easily be on par with Serafall in terms of power. So I know that you can defend yourself against many high-level beings, but I want you to promise me that you will stay safe and that you will write to us, said Lord Citri sighing. I understand that you love the girl Karoka and even though it hurts me that you are leaving, I want you to promise me that you will write to me and that you will not forget us, son, said Lady Citri with small tears coming out of her eyes. She loves her son, but she knew well that her son has been independent since he was very young and she knows how strong he is, so there will be no problem with his safety. Budo sighed. He didn't want his parents and sisters to be sad. But for the moment, it was better to leave the underworld to increase his military power, his political power, and his own power since he knew that those old fossils of the demonic council would screw him over. Sona, brother, promise me that you will come back and not let anything happen to you. I know that we do not have the power to stop you, to be able to see you in action. I know that you are strong. Easily someone at the Satan level. What I do not understand is why you hide your power. If you were to bring it to light, you would easily be much more recognized. Then you are by our faction. His parents and Serafall were curious about Naruto's answer, as they didn't quite understand why the younger Citri was hiding his power. Simple little sister. I don't want the fossils to be screwing me. I am not a clan heir, so I have a great margin of maneuver. I can come and go. Maybe everyone thinks that I am at the level of a high-class demon at its maximum level or a low-level supreme class, something very striking in the devil community, but acceptable. But if those fossils or the Siskin find out that I have the level of a Satan, they will want me as a breeding machine. And if they try something like that with me, I will freeze them and massacre the entire demonic council, since no one will send me who to marry before I disappear from the world. Naruto finished speaking. Lord and Lady Citri. They understood a little of their son's threat and knew that he was not only talking about the council members, but that he was also threatening them. In a few words, he told them not to compromise me with someone I don't want, or I will leave the underworld. And they will never know about me. Seeing how elusive their son is, they believed he was capable of doing that, which worried them a lot since they knew that their son was serious about running away forever and disappearing. They did not want that. Lord Citri. Fine. I accept what you say, Naruto. You don't have to threaten to disappear forever from our lives. I know well that you are strong and you want to go live your life, but I want you to always communicate with us and come see us. I don't want anything to happen to you. You are a high-class demon with a level of a supreme class demon. Everyone in the family knows the overwhelming power you have. I know that. You can be the strongest Citri in history. Lady Citri, Sona, and Serafall nodded. They knew that Naruto would not stay, and they knew that they would carry out their threat. So, they better do what they say. After all, they still communicate with Naruto, even though he would not live with them for the moment. Okay, I'll go. I have things to do. I'll see you soon, and you don't have to worry about me. I'm strong enough to protect myself, said Naruto with a small smile. Okay, Nurchin, you have to come more often. And don't worry, I will let Ajak-chan know. He will also hope to see you soon, said Serafall with a big smile. I'll miss you too, Naruto. I hope you come often, Sona said seriously. But she had a few tears coming out of her. Naruto's parents nodded and said goodbye to Naruto despite being sad. They knew that their son is strong, so they weren't worried so much about his safety, but they would still miss him a lot. They hoped that their son would come back to visit them often. Boruto nodded and disappeared into a magic circle. He had things to do and plans that needed to be put into action and meetings along with several alliances that needed to be made. It was time to increase his military power. End of chapter. Chapter 9. Meetings and Recruitment Part 2. It's been a couple of days since the meeting between Naruto and his family. The young Citri began to plan how to make an alliance with the different factions and how to find the old lair of the original Lucifer. Since he had recently learned that Lucifer had the location of the primordial demons, who were a different race of demons only that unlike him or other demons. These did not have a form as such or a name. He was curious to find that race of originals who were locked up in ancient times with a god of the Bible, since he feared the power of the primordials from what he could find out, especially because each primordial had a power superior to that of a celestial dragon. Budo's thoughts. I have to find out the location of the primordials. I'm curious why they were feared by the God of the Bible. According to the information I was able to gather, each of those primordials may be on par with Hades, the Greek god of the underworld, but the biblical god was much stronger. I don't understand why he would fear those beings. Maybe I can find out from Kisuk. He knows many things about the supernatural world. After all, he is one of the most intelligent beings. Naruto noticed that you were very thoughtful. What was happening? Kurama asked curiously since, when Naruto was thoughtful, he normally came up with crazy ideas that could get them into trouble in the future. Naruto was brought out of his thoughts when he heard Kurama speak. So he sighed as he would tell Kurama his plan to free the primordials. Kurama, some time ago I found information about the demonic primordials. According to what I was able to investigate, each primordial may be stronger than the celestial dragons. They were thinking of searching for the location of these powerful beings. It is most likely that in Lucifer's secret lair there is information about the location of the seal. Naruto replied with a sigh. Kurama opened his eyes in surprise as he did not think that Naruto was so crazy to want to release those entities, since according to what he could read in the ancient writings, the primordial demons are beings of immense power and much evil, one that may even surpass him. He did not understand what Naruto wanted with those beings. Are you sure you want to search for those beings? We don't know anything about them. Not even their personality. We only know that they are beings of immense evil. Kurama asked with a frown. Naruto frowned but sighed as he explained to Kurama the pros of finding the primordials. Naruto simple Kurama. If we find those beings, we can put ourselves on their side. Who knows? Maybe we can even make them our allies. Besides, we don't have much information about those beings, only that they were dark entities. And that doesn't tell us anything. I am a demon, an entity of darkness, and I am not that bad or good. I am not with my allies. Naruto term. Gramo. He knew that Naruto was loyal and good with his friends and allies. But with his enemies, he was very cruel. And he knew that when the black-haired man dealt with his enemies, he tortured them. Sometimes it gave him chills, and that he is the strongest. Baiwama. Fine. I'll support the search for the primordials. I just hope this doesn't harm us in the long run. Budo nodded. He would talk to Kisuke about the primordials. He needed information about these beings. He was curious as to why he was sealed. We also need to talk to Tiamat and Lick, the leader of the elves. They will be the easiest to recruit, said Naruto. I'll go for Tiamat and the Dragon Kings, while you and Karoka can go meet with Lick so he can join our small alliance. Kurama replied. Naruto nodded that this would be the best plan of action to increase his military power, since he knew he needed backup in case the demonic council or the tomato tried something against him, and if they did, they wouldn't have a good time. Without Naruto noticing, this whole talk was seen by someone of immense power. This someone is the Black Primordial and the strongest of the primordials. He looked with great curiosity and some devotion to Naruto. Since he did not understand how a being from another world that was human reincarnated to be a demon, he felt a small disturbance in how his seal only prevented him from leaving. But since he was not that strong, he feared his tactics to atone for the supernatural world and the human world. Without a doubt, young Naruto in the eyes of the Black Primordial is a unique existence, since he knew that Naruto is a young demon and that they had most reached the high-class level. But Naruto showed him that he is at the level of first-level gods. His power and conviction made him want to follow him. The Black Primordial sometimes spied on the world for 1 or 2 hours at most, since he could not atone for it any longer thanks to the seal that held him back. He is still curious about the plans that the young Citri has, whom he would call master when he and his primordial colleagues are freed. Black Primordial young Naruto is planning to free us. That young demon, or should I say, demon god, is so curious. When he does it, I will make the rest of the primordials follow him. He will need all the power possible for his plans to come true. It will be Interesting to follow this anomaly. The Black Primordial finished his train of thought. Meanwhile, in Kyoto territory of the Yaoi faction, we're meeting Amaterasu, the goddess of the sun, and leader of the Shinto faction. Yuruchi, the goddess of speed, and leader of the Nikisho, and Yusaka, the leader of the Yaokai of Kyoto. These leaders are meeting with 3 of the 4 Mayu, being the Ajukabilab, Sarafa, Leviathan, and Surzich's Lucifer, 3 of the strongest demons in the underworld. Well, demon, I want an explanation of what happened to my beautiful kittens. And I wanted now I accepted this meeting thanks to a little friend who gave you the benefit of the doubt. So I want to know why you wanted to massacre my cute kittens, said Amaterasu coldly with her power on, since she was very upset with the demons. The 3 satanized demons gulped as Amatera's power was terrifying, although 2 of them were curious to know who had pleaded for them, but they had to dismiss it as they had to give an acceptable explanation so as not to anger the sun goddess. Serafall, well, Amater-sama, we do not know exactly what happened to the demons, but as you already know, most of the demons who participated in the attack on the Nasha were killed, and those who survived are imprisoned and will soon be killed for the attempted assassination of the Nikisho clan. The Mayu answered seriously. The Mataru, Yusaka, and Yuruchi raised an eyebrow in curiosity. All 3 knew that what Serafall said was a half-truth, since Naruto told them that the council ordered the Nasho to be massacred, but they didn't say anything since they didn't want a war. They knew they could wipe out the demons. But for Naruto, they weren't going to do it. He saved the Nasho. And at least, thanks to what he did, the demons deserve a second chance. I understand, but that's not enough to justify the attack. What we want is monetary compensation for the attempted assassination of the Nasho clan. Amaterasu said. I agree with Lady Amaterasu. Monetary compensation will be enough to resolve this problem, said Yuruchi. We will put the amount in the new agreement that will be made, since we are still in doubt about renting the city of Kuo after the attempted assassination of the entire Nikisho clan. Yaka said with a frown. Surziches frowned and was going to retort, but a look from Serafall and Ajuka silenced him. Then both Ajuka and Serafall looked at each other. They would not let the tomato speak and make Amaterasu angry, all because they did not want to pay compensation. I understand, Lady Amaterasu, Lady Isaka, and Lady Yuchi. You set the amount and we will pay it, said Ajuka with a sigh. He had a feeling that the amount they will pay will be very high. Isaka, Yuruchi, and Amaterasu smiled internally. Now, they asked for a bucking large amount. Half will be for them and the other half for Naruto, since he was the one who came up with the idea. Well, the amount we are asking for will be $50 million, just after almost exterminating my beautiful kittens. I expect the money in a month at most, underworld leaders said Amateru seriously. Ajuka, Serafall, and Surziches opened their eyes in surprise, especially Surziches, since he did not think that the move of trying to massacre the Nikasho clan would cost him so much. And now he cursed himself for not preventing them from trying to massacre the kittens of the strongest sun goddess. Well, compensation will be given. You don't have to worry about that, Lady Amaterasu, but we want to ask you a small favor. We wish you to rent us the Kuo territory. You name the price, and we will pay it, Serafall said with a sigh. Guuo's contract will be given in another meeting. I will have to discuss that with Yusaka-chan and make our decision. So don't worry, you will have my answer in a week. Amaterasu replied. The 3 men nodded. Well, I think that will be all. At this meeting, we say goodbye to Lady Amaterasu, Lady Yaka, and Lady Yuruchi. And I apologize again for what happened, said Ajuka. Seriously. I understand. Aka dono and see you soon. Yoruichi answers dryly. The Mayo nodded and withdrew. Now they have to talk to the council about what they have to pay the Yaoi and Shinto factions. The three Mu were somewhat stressed and relieved that they don't have to go to war since they knew that the Shinto are strong and have 3 beings in the top 10 who could wipe out their entire faction with ease. Well, this turned out better than expected, Yoruichi commented with a big smile. Well, we have several million for ourselves, and there were no casualties, so I think this is our big victory, said Yusaka. Well, economically, we dealt a small blow to the tomato. I know he will have to take responsibility for being Lucifer. Let's hope he doesn't make any stupid moves. Amaterasu commented with a snort when mentioning the tomato. Isaka and Yoruichi nodded in understanding. They don't hate demons, only Lucifer's tomato. He's a stupid siskin who deserves to be erased. They believe that the alliance with Naruto's will be very beneficial for us. I know that he is not devoted to the demonic counselor, the Sinkin of Lucifer, but he is still a child, said Yusaka. Lady Yaka Naruto may be young, but he is strong in both power and mind. So, I would beg you not to distrust my leader, said Yoruichi. Seriously. Yoruichi is right. You shouldn't distrust Naru. The power he has is immense and it is clear that he is not a normal child. He is strong, both mentally and in power. I would say that in a few years he may be at my level. It will be interesting to fight against the young Citri, said Amaterasu with a giggle. Isaka sighed but nodded anyway, since if Amaterasu trusted Naruto, she would too. In another place in the world, more specifically in a church, you could see a boy with black wings who appears to be about 18 years old. This boy is Azrael, the angel of death. This angel was not a fallen one, but he had black wings. This angel was with a very hidden sadness on his face without emotions. Since heaven constantly rejects him despite not being a fallen one, and that gradually filled him with indifference towards heaven and its people, he only wants Gabriel. Since she is the only one who behaves in a polite manner, he only wants to be accepted. But heaven apparently will never accept him. He recently fought with Michael and he thought that it is time to retire from heaven. Maybe it will only be better for him than being allied with heaven and his brothers. I wonder if being a demon would have been better. I just want to be accepted, to have comrades to support and who support me. Thought with a sigh the angel of death, who was sitting in a church that was near the security mansion where one of the strongest beings was located, which was Naruto. But Naruto currently about to fight Kurama in a no-holds-barred duel as he wants to see his power level. Are you ready for this fight? Naruto said Kurama with a smile. These smart ones, let's see who is the strongest and we'll see how strong you became, Kurama. It's time to see who of us is superior. Naruto replied with a smile. After Naruto said that, dozens of magic circles opened behind him where several ice dragons came out and went against Kurama, who opened his eyes in surprise, but reacted quickly and made hand positions and shouted, "Fire release." "Foxfire Tide," shouted the strongest Kyuubi. Naruto smiled and launched a torrent of water at Kurama. The Kyuubi smiled and protected himself with his tails from the torrent of water. "Ice Magic Dragon God of Ice," shouted Naruto, launching a dragon so big that it impressed Kurama, who made hand positions and said, "Element Burn God of Sun," shouted the Kyuubi, sending a large fox of fire towards the dragon. Both techniques collided and caused a huge explosion that, despite the barrier that was in the battle area, the explosion of power and energy caught the attention of someone who was nearby, and that was Azrael, the angel of death and the strongest angel near the battle of Kurama and Naruto. The strongest angel, Azrael, felt a large amount of energy collide. So curious, he went to the place where he felt the energy collision. But Naruto and Kurama both were launching fire and ice attacks back and forth. The attacks were so strong that they were destroying the entire landscape around them. Fortunately, the mansion had a protective barrier and was far enough away so that it would not be affected by the power of both. Water magic, 1,000 water dragons, lightning magic, collision of the lightning god, Naruto shouted, sending several lightning dragons that went towards Kurama. But not only that, but the water dragons were empowered by a large amount of lightning in them, increasing their attack power. The nine-tailed Biju was somewhat impressed by the combination of attacks and knew that if that attack hit him, it would damage him a little. So sighing, he prepared to put up his defense. Darkness release absorption vortexes, said Kurama, opening several vortexes around him that absorbed Naruto's electric dragons. I didn't know you could use the darkness element much less in that way, Naruto commented, somewhat impressed since Kurama's defense seemed like a space-time jutsu, and that is amazing. You see, puppy, you are not the only one who improved and learned to use new attacks. I realize that my brute strength is not enough to protect you and everyone, so it is better to learn and improve, Kurama replied with a fang smile. Well, let's continue with our practice fight, said Naruto, increasing his power and forming a Raid beast behind him. Kurama did the same, and both auras are colliding with each other, making the atmosphere tense. Meanwhile, Lae'zel was recently watching the battle between those beings that he really did not know, and that seemed strange to him since those beings of immense power should be known in the supernatural world. And internally, he was relieved since he was able to pass the barrier. Although it cost him a lot to break it for a few seconds since it barely damaged it, it was repaired very easily, which impressed him. But for the moment, he dismissed it. And with his ability, he hid his presence. He was very curious about the battle of that Kyuubi and the boy who, from what he felt, is a demon. Naruto and Kurama continued fighting. Kurama was exhausted. He knew that Naruto is strong, but he lacks experience to increase his power level, while Naruto was somewhat exhausted as energy reserves were low, launching large attacks as if they were anything, and holding the barrier was somewhat exhausting. He was also aware of the presence. But since it did not damage them and was only curious that angel or demon, he was still not sure. He was not going to do anything to him for the moment. But Kurama, how about we call it a draw and welcome our uninvited guest? Naruto said with a smile. Kurama frowned but nodded. He was curious about the new visitor. It was clear that he was strong, perhaps on par with Susanoo or even stronger. Asriel realized that both beings finished their battle and was going to retreat since the battle he saw excited him a little. He had seen good battles. But the one between these two was one of the best, and it was clear that they were only practicing. If he calculated well, maybe each one is stronger than the celestial dragons, and that amazed him. He did not know how two beings of their power had gone unnoticed by everyone, even by the paranoid Michael. Well, it's time to leave before they notice my presence, Asriel thought, but a voice made the angel of death stop in his tracks. What are you doing spying on us? Naruto asked cautiously. And what exactly are you? It is clear that you are not a fallen one, but you have the essence of an angel. Only, instead of light, you have darkness. Although I cannot feel negativity, but only darkness, Kurama asked curiously. Asriel was static. He knew that if he tried to escape, they could kill him. It would be better to confront those two. He had nothing to lose, thought the angel of death. Well, I'm surprised that you were able to detect me since I'm good at breaking barriers and hiding, and the fact that you detected me says a lot about you, Asriel commented. Naruto and Kurama narrowed their eyes in suspicion. Don't avoid our questions. You've entered my territory, so identify yourself, he ordered Naruto, releasing his power to intimidate. Azrael frowned. He didn't like being ordered around, but he will introduce himself out of courtesy. And because he entered the boy's territory without his permission. Well, you don't have to give up your power. I introduce myself. I'm Azrael, the Angel of Death. Azrael introduced himself. Budo and Kurama opened their eyes in surprise. They didn't think they would meet one of the strongest angels in heaven. It's surprising to see the Angel of Death and one of the strongest in heaven, Naruto commented. I'm not in heaven anymore, or at least not completely, Azrael replied dryly. Naruto raised an eyebrow. Well, let me introduce myself. I'm Naruto Citri. It's a pleasure to meet the Angel of Death, Naruto replied with some curiosity. It's rare to see an angel outside of heaven, so he's somewhat curious to know what a first class angel is doing on Earth. So, you are a demon. I suspected it. What surprises me is that there is another Konoha. As far as I understand, the only Konoha are the leader of Kyoto and her daughter. This is unexpected, Azrael commented curiously. Well, I'm Kurama. What are you doing in this place, Angel of Death? Kurama asked cautiously. Yes, what are you doing in this place? Shouldn't you be in heaven after all? You are a first-level angel according to what I know. And you are, in my opinion, one of the strongest angels after all. So, what are you doing on Earth? Asked Naruto. I just had a small problem with Michael. So, I prefer to be on Earth than with my hypocritical brothers who reject me just because I'm the Angel of Death, Azrael said. With venom in his voice and with part of his power coming out cracking the ground. Kurama and Naruto understood Azrael after all. Each of them was rejected in the elemental nations and they knew that Azrael wasn't lying. After all, they felt emotions and know when one is lying. And what do you plan to do? Angel of Death. I highly doubt you want to return to heaven. From what I feel from your emotions, you feel betrayed and I feel a bit of hatred directed at heaven. Kurama commented with some curiosity. Nothing. Just retired to Earth for the moment. I can't be in heaven. I feel excluded there. I prefer to be on Earth. Azrael replied, cautiously. I understand, but you know very well that we can't let you leave this place. Unless you make an oath that you won't say anything about this place or about us. Naruto said seriously. Azrael frowned since they wouldn't let him out, but he was curious about the oath. What do you mean by oath? Azrael asked curiously. Simple. You will swear by his magic that you will not say anything about this place to the leaders of heaven or to any being unless you are allowed to say it. This oath we will perform. I only need a drop of your blood now. Naruto answered simply. I've never heard an oath of that kind. It's interesting. I suppose you invented it. I don't ask Azrael with curiosity. He had no problem with swearing. After all, he didn't plan on telling anyone about this place. Exactly. I created this little ritual in case I distrust someone and want to betray me. Now you will swear or I have to kill you, Naruto said simply. Azrael frowned and sighed. Well, it was better to take the oath and be alive than not to take the oath and be killed. But he wanted something. He saw the battle and knew that those guys are strong. So if he wants to be stronger, why not train with those guys? He didn't care if one was a demon and the other a yaoi, he didn't discriminate. Well, I'm going to take the oath. But I also want to train with you because from what I saw, you are strong. And I want to be stronger and with your help, I know I can achieve it. Also, if you accept my request, you will have an ally, said Azrael. Gamma and Naruto looked at each other. Both knew that the boy was not lying. Apparently, the Angel of Death was like them when they were in the elemental nations. And the only thing he wants is to leave heaven. Naruto. Fine. I accept your request. I have no problem with you coming back and training. Now we will take the oath, Angel of Death. Azrael, perfect young Citri, and thank you, replied Azil. Now you can train and be away from heaven. End of chapter. Change of Nobility Part 2. King Naruto Citri, the Ice Emperor Demon God. Queen Merlin, Supreme Sorceress, Infinity Wizard. Bishop Azrael, the Angel of Death, the strongest angel. Bishop Zarif, the strongest Black Mage. Chaos Mage. Knight Nero Claudios, the Emperor of the Roses. The Red Knight. Knight Oza Bularian, the Scarlet Knight, the Dragon Princess. Tower Irene Bularian, the Queen of Dragons, the Scarlet Destroyer. Tower Crom Kruik, the strongest evil dragon, the Crescent Circle Dragon. Pon Natsu, the Fire Dragon Slayer, the Master of Flames. Pon Gray, Fullbuster, Ice Master, Snow Prince. Pon Ichizui, Master of Illusions, the Heir of Sharing. Hun Juvia, the Princess of the Seas, the Master of Water. Pon. The rest of the pawns are on hold. I'm still not sure who Naruto will recruit. Shui will be revived. I'll indicate later why Naruto will revive him. The story is still starting. The arc of the elemental nations. I will do it in the very future. For now, Naruto will only be in charge of recruiting people to strengthen his power in the human world and the supernatural world. Of this nobility, only 3 or 4 will be in the top 10. Chapter 10. Changes. It's been 3 months since Naruto met Azil, the Angel of Death. In this time, Naruto got to know the strongest angel better and realized that he was very similar to him when he lived in Konoha. Since Azrael was discriminated against in heaven for being the Angel of Death, that's why he did not want to be in heaven anymore. So, Naruto proposed to Azrael to be his bishop, which the Angel of Death accepted for 2 reasons. The first was to annoy heaven. And the second was because Naruto accepted him as he was so better than being the nobility of the strongest demon he has ever met. In addition, adding Azrael to his nobility also added Kurama as his tower in his nobility, considerably increasing his power. And well, who do we recruit now? Little Boss asked Azrael with great curiosity, since he was curious to know who his new boss was going to recruit. He supposes it will be someone strong. He just hopes it is not someone too complicated. Yes, Nia, who do you have in mind to recruit Naruto? Nia asked Karoka with curiosity, since she knew that Naruto will not recruit any being unless they have some special ability or are his friends, as in her case. She still did not understand how the hell he was able to recruit Azrael, the Angel of Death, being that angel so strong as to be able to defeat even opponents of the caliber of Mao. Kama was also curious to know who Naruto had in mind. He knows that his brother will not recruit just any entity. He knew that he only recruited Karoka since she is Naruto's best friend, and despite being a Nakasho who is above average, is not an outstanding entity like Azrael or him that both could fight on equal footing with any of the leaders of the underworld. Simple guys, what we are going to do is recruit the strongest evil dragon, Crom Kruch, the dragon of the crescent moon. I know from research that he is at the level of the celestial dragons. It would be good to have him as an ally. I know it will be difficult to recruit them, but not impossible. Naruto answered simply. Baroka and Azrael's mouths opened in surprise and disbelief. They didn't think Naruto had the balls to want to recruit Crom Kruk. Hell, that dragon, as far as they know, is on par with celestial dragons. Well, Kurama shook his head. Naruto is crazy. Very crazy to want to recruit that dragon. Devil, he knew that. Dragon is easily on par with celestial dragons. His brother is and will continue to be. Crazy for wanting to recruit that first-rate being. Well, boss, you are crazy to recruit. Krom Kurik, but I think it is possible that you can do it if you defeat him in a one-on-one battle. I wonder how the factions would react when they know that I, Azul, in your nobility, and when you can recruit that celestial level dragon, Azrael said. Smiling. Baro sneered. She knew that the Siskin who had the underworld as a leader. And the paranoid who had the heavens as a leader along with the pervert who had the fallen as a leader will feel threatened by Naruto and the power he currently has. And do you know where Krom Kruch is so you can recruit that dragon? Kurama asked. Curiously, since that dragon is powerful in its own right and having it as an ally will be very beneficial in the future, especially if they want to deal with Lucifer's Mayu system. Simple according to what Kisuk and his people were able to investigate. Kromsi Kruch is in Rome. I think the Cows Brigade is trying to recruit, and before they do it I will. Naruto said with a cheeky smile as he thought about how he would annoy the Cows Brigade by taking Croc away from him. I see. So by having the dragon of the growing circle Krom Kruch on your side, you weaken the Cows Brigade in the process and annoy all the leaders of the three factions as well as increase your military power. Said Azrael with a small smile, since his boss is very intelligent. He wanted to see Michael's face when he finds out that Krom Kruch could have been recruited and nothing more and nothing less by a demon. Arudo nodded and disappeared along with all the members of his nobility. It is time to recruit the evil dragon. It is necessary, since he has a lot of information about the true dragons and he wanted those dragons as allies and maybe if possible add them to his nobility. Although the young Citri also felt strange, as if someone was watching him, he should be more careful with his movements. Meanwhile, in another part of the world, the Black Primordial looked with curiosity at the young Citri. He is his greatest entertainment. The Black Primordial wanted to meet that demon who was surpassing the level of the gods and who, even from what he sees, wants to know the location of the true dragons and recruit them. Something that surprised him quite a bit. Since those three dragons are beings of immense power that may be at the top of the gods, he knew that he can fight those dragons. But defeating them, he doubted it. Still did not know how that boy would recruit them. But he knew that he could recruit them. He saw his determination. Black Primordial. Young Naruto is planning to also release the true dragons. Well, soon he will also free me and my primordial colleagues. Soon, Lord Narua will rule the entire world, and his power will be superior even to cows, the dragon gods, and the beast of the apocalypse. It will be interesting to see what moves Lord Naruto makes next. I wonder how much chaos the Black Primordial will bring to the world. Meanwhile, in the dimension of the shinobi world, things were not going so well for the elemental nations, especially for the village of the leaf and the country of fire as a whole. Since they executed Uzumaki Naruto, now known as Namekus Uzumaki Naruto, the son of Namekus Minato, the Yan Hokage, and Uzumaki Kusha, the princess of Yuzu, the village is seen by the shinobi world as an outcast and incompetent village. But despite their reputation that was made by executing the Uzumaki Konoha, they are still a strong town. Although they have lost several allies such as Nami, Nunkuni and the country of Spring Well with Sunagakur, and other small countries where the Uzumaki is seen with respect or a hero in some cases, relations are tense with Konoha, especially in Suna where Gar wants to destroy the Leaf Village for what happened to his brother Jingariki. In other villages like Kumo and Iowa, they are preparing for a possible war since they learned that those of Konoha executed their Ginuriki thanks to their spies, causing Konoha to weaken militarily and economically. But despite that, they still do not attack since they know that there are still powerful ninjas like Kakashi of the Sharingan Tsunam Hogue Jera of the Sannin the Wise Toad and Guy the Green Beast of the Leaf, all of the senior rank ninjas. So Kumagakar and Yugakar were preparing and increasing their military power to be able to destroy the Leaf Village. Since both cages hated the Leaf for what happened in the Third Shinobi War and having 4 Genchirikas, one of them perfect Genchirikas and the other 3 with high control of their Biju, take advantage of their power to disappear Konoha as they should have done decades ago. On the other hand, the Akatsuki organization was momentarily stagnant until the Kyobi and the Sambura surfaced, since the entire organization knew that the Genchirikas of the 9 and 3 tails are dead. So for the moment, everyone is collecting information about what is happening in the shinobi world and a possible war that is coming. Something that some Akatsuki like Konan and Itachi did not like one bit for different reasons. Currently, the Akatsuki organization is meeting to organize the tasks and captures of the Biju, as well as being able to get rid of Orochimaru, the San of the Snakes and traitor of the organization, as well as to see what movements are going to be made with the growing war that is coming within a few years, if not months. Since the entire organization knew that Kumo and Iya were talking about an alliance to end Konoha, they knew the Koryakar will not join since they are weak and Sunyuna will remain neutral. Well, it's time to start the meeting and discuss how we will deal with the Genchirikas with Archimaru, and with a recent war approaching between Konoha against Wagakar and Kumager, said Pain, leader of the organization and bearer of the Renin, the eyes of the gods. Itachi and Konan frowned, each for different reasons. I think that when the war between both sides begins, we should take advantage to capture the Genchirikas when they are weakened. But in the meantime, we can take care of Orochimaru. Killing him will bring us a lot of money. And in the case of Akka, Kumagakar offers a lot of money for him alive. I think that the best option would be to marry those two first, said Kakuzo. You and money, 'cause a sinful greedy, Haiden said with a frown. Money is the most important thing, Heian. But I don't expect you to understand with how stupid you are praying to your god, Kakuzo mocked, rolling his eyes as he wanted to kill Haiden. But he couldn't because of his immortality, but he would find a way to end his miserable life. Heen gritted his teeth in hatred towards his greedy companion, but said nothing as Pain gave him a deadly glare, and he knew that Pain could easily kill him by taking his soul. He may be impulsive at times, but he is not stupid enough to do something to anger his leader. But it's time to start this meeting and get organized, since now it will be easier to capture the Biju with the war that is coming. Also, we have to see where the Kyobi and the Sambi will reform. But for now, we will capture the rest of the Biju. And if possible, we will also get rid of the traitor Rajimu, since he has too much information about us and it will be harmful in the future if we do not treat the Snake San as soon as possible, Pain said seriously. Since he wanted to put his plan into action now, and what better way to do it than when the villages will be at war and he knew that they will send their Genchirikas and it will be easier to capture them. The Akatsuki members nodded at the mention of getting rid of Rajimu. None of them liked the pedophile snake when he was in the organization. Plus some of them had personal issues with the traitor Sannin. Well, the first matter to deal with is the war that will come between Kumo and Iwa against Konoha. We all know that Konoha is weak. It no longer has as many allies as before, and with Sunagakar being neutral, according to reports, Konoha will most likely lose, since Kumo and I would have the 2, 4, 5, and 8 tails in their power. The 8 tails being a complete Ginuriki and the rest of those Yinurikas being semi-perfect in the control of their Biju. In addition to the fact that the armies of both villages together double the forces of Konoha, and despite Kagok supporting Konoha in the war, Konoha will not fare well in this battle, Pain said seriously. The members of the Akatsuki nodded in understanding while Itachi frowned out of concern for his beloved village and the war that will occur in the future. All because of the death of Naruto and the Kyuubi. He mentally cursed the council and the Hogue for such stupidity, since by losing Naruto they lost the Kyuu and the rest of the villages take advantage of that. All those inept politicians are fools. And what are we going to do? Conan asks seriously. We can attack Rachimara first. Finish him off and get the bounties on the head of the snake Sannin, his right-hand man Kabuto, and several of his shinobi who have a considerable price on their heads will be the most beneficial for us, said Kakuzo. Bedera, Sasori, and Kisum nodded, knowing full well that this would be the best course of action to get rid of Orochimaru and have funds to fulfill their future goals. Toby believes that the Kaili and the Sambi will re-emerge first so that he can then find out how to capture them and then go after Rajimu, Toby said in a childish voice. I agree with Toby. Despite being a fool, your idea was good. Waiting for the two Biju to resurface would be the best course of action, said Black Zetsu. Simply. Pain thought about his actions and knew that Toby or Madara were right. The best course of action is to wait a bit for the resurgence of the Sambi and the Kaili. Pain. Okay, let's do this. I want Kisum and Itachi to look for the Sambi. It will soon resurface since it is a Biju with few tails. Also, if possible, capture the 4 tails and the 5 tails. According to the information, both Yenchirikas are on the outskirts of the Wagakure. Be careful since with a possible war, both are well protected. Bitachi and Kisum nodded. Pain, Sari, Dara, Toby, and Zetsu, I want you to look for Orochimaru and finish him off. With Zetsu's help, you will be able to locate any of bases. Orochimaru may be strong, but between Toby, Sasori, and Dara, you will be able to deal with him. That would be your secondary goal. But the main one is that I want you to capture the 6 tails, locate the Ginuriki, and capture him. Between all of you, you will be able to do it. In addition, I want you to go after the 1 tail. It will be simple for you to infiltrate Sonagar with the help of Sazori and his network of spies that he has in all the villages. Toby will do what Toby will obey leader Sama, said Toby childishly. Tessari, Zetsu, and Dara nodded, though Dedara was angry at having to go with that idiot. Toby, Baikuzu and Heian, you two capture and get money. We need funds to be able to move. You have free reign to hunt any shinobi. Preferably attack Koha shinobi. It will be better to weaken that village and make a Wagakure and Kumagakure more tempted to attack them as soon as possible. In addition to that, I want you to capture the 2 tails. She is on the outskirts of Kumagakure. According to the information we have been able to obtain, you also have to go after the 7 tails. From the information that she was able to obtain to the outskirts of Tigakaya, it will be easy for you to capture her. According to the reports, her level is that of an average Jonin, if not lower, Pain ordered. Baikuzu nodded happily to be able to get more money, while Heian was also happy to be able to make sacrifices to his god. Fine. I will deal with the 8 tails and the Kyuubi, Bathu. We will leave them for the end. I end this meeting. Do what I ask you to do, and I do not want failures. Otherwise, the consequences will be painful, said Pain coldly. The Akatsuki members nodded in understanding, but one of them was worried the coming war would be detrimental to Konoha. He knew well that Sunagakure would be neutral as it is weak. Kuriger does not have any Genchirikas, so it will not enter the war in addition to being the weakest village at present. Itachi's thoughts. I have to inform Jara-sama Konoha is weakened. With the loss of the Kobe, Konoha doesn't have many chances. The best thing I can do is weaken a wager by capturing its Shincharikas and killing its shinobi. By doing that, I think Konoha would have a better chance of winning this possible war. Meanwhile, in Konoha, things were not so good in the strongest village of the elemental nations. Since the death of the Uzumaki, they have lost a great level of economic power. And, if that were not enough, the possible war with Kumager and Awagakar was near since the Kobe Jinriki was killed. Well, everyone knows why we're gathered, Sun said. With a tired sigh, she still can't believe that thanks to the Brat's death, they've lost a huge level of economic power. Yes, Okajama, and the war that is approaching our doors since the death of the Ginriki is worrying, said Shikaku, leader of the Nar clan, with a sigh as he thought about the war and the deaths that are coming. I think this war will be very complicated, but I think we can deal with the Wagakar and Kumagakar. I know we have the help of Kagakure, and I know that Sonagar will most likely become neutral since they are weak. Hayashi Hyuga, leader of the Hyuga clan, mentions it will be difficult to defeat Kumo and Iowa. They have 4 Gencharikas. One of those 4 Gencharikas is a perfect one and is the strongest after the Kaili. It is said that the 8 Tails is on par with Arakage, who was said to be the fastest man since the death of Minato, said Jara the Toad Sage, sighing. He did not think that with the death of Naruto he would bring so many problems to Konoha. We will prepare for war. We need more small villages to support us so we can tip the scales in our favor. Soon said. Everyone nodded with a frown. The entire meeting was seen by the best Kaneki in illusions. This is Yukumo Kurama, the former Aries of the Kurama clan, who without the clan leaders and the Hogue realizing it, was watching what happened. And she was planning how to sabotage Konoha. Now is the time for her to take revenge for the death of Naruto, for the death of her light and best friend. Maybe it is best to take the Forbidden Scroll and sell all the jutsus to a wager and Kumagakar. The former Eris thought with some evil as she saw Konoha burn. End of chapter 11. Nobility Part 1. Currently Naruto along with Kurama and Azul was going to recruit Krom Kruch, the strongest evil dragon and a being slightly superior to the celestial category celestial dragon. In his search the 3 entities of the category of the gods, being Naruto and Kurama, beings that easily entered the top 10 of the most powerful existences, while Lazel easily entered the top 15 of the strongest beings. Naruto, do you feel that energy? I suppose you just realized who that power is? Kurama asked, seriously, since he just felt an energy superior to that of the Dragon Kings, but it was also a dark energy that overshadows even several demons. Naruto nodded and prepared for battle. He knew that the being emitting that energy was Krom Kruch, the strongest evil dragon and the entity he was looking for and would recruit. He assumed that if he defeated the dragon one-on-one, the evil dragon would join him, so he would challenge him to a bat. This will also test the level of the celestial level dragon. But the young Citri was brought out of his thoughts as a torrent of flames went towards him and his friends. Azrael, seeing the torrent of flames, protected everyone with a barrier, being able to neutralize the powerful torrent of fire, which somewhat impressed the one who launched the attack. The attacker was none other than Krom Kruk, Crescent Circle Dragon, the strongest evil dragon, a celestial dragon category being he attacked since they invaded his territory, and he knew that the 3 presences are strong. He wanted a good battle. And why not test himself against those brats who, from what he could notice, seemed to be looking for something or someone that intrigued him. What are you doing in my territory? And who exactly are you? You're obviously powerful, even though you look young. Kromkurich asked seriously, curiously wanting to know the names of his opponents. Naruto raised an eyebrow in curiosity. Azrael was somewhat nervous about facing the strongest evil dragon since he knew its power and knew that this dragon is easily on the same level as the celestial dragons. Well, Kurama looked at the dragon as if it were a fly to be exterminated. Since in the Kale's opinion, the dragon may be strong, but he is much stronger. Not for nothing, he has the level to be in the middle of the top 10. It's a pleasure to meet you, evil dragon, Kromkurich. Let me introduce myself. I am Naruto Citri, youngest son of the Citri house. Next to me is Kurama. He is a Kyobi. And on the other side of me was Azil, the angel of death, or as most of the supernatural world knows him as Death Incarnate. We have come to recruit you. Dragon Kromkurich. More specifically, I came to recruit you. I want to challenge you. And if I win, you join my nobility, and if I lose, you can ask for whatever you wish. Naruto said with a small smile. He knew he could beat the dragon. Although it wouldn't be an easy battle, not for nothing, he is the strongest evil dragon. Kromkurich opened his eyes in surprise and smiled. He noticed the boy's energy, and it was clear that he was at least at the level of a super demon like Rizom and Lucifer. He could see that the brat Citri has the balls to challenge him. He noticed that he didn't speak with arrogance, but with confidence. He will accept his challenge and test if little Citri is as strong as he thinks he is. It will be interesting. Well, kid, I accept your challenge. I'll prove how strong you are. I suppose your friends won't intervene. Kromkurich asked cautiously, since he knew he was strong, but facing the three beings in front of him would be very complicated even for him, so he had to be cautious. Naruto smiled and shook his head at his opponent's question. He felt the doubt in the dragon. He assumed that he wasn't sure he could face him and his friends. After all, they are all top-level entities. You don't have to worry. It will be a one-on-one fight, and when I can defeat you, you will see that I am a good little dragon king. Naruto said in a mocking tone at the end. Frowned. He found the boy very irritating. Well, kid Citri, it's time to fight. We'll see how strong you are, commented the evil dragon with a wild smile. Now he would test the brat. You'll see if he's strong or if he's trash like most demons. Well, see, little dragon. Naruto replied with mockery in his voice, but inside he was anxious for the battle since it was clear that the dragon is strong enough for his curiosity. Kromkurich frowned at the